This is unfathomable. Really, really and truly unbelievable. I cannot believe it. Kane, the editor of this very video, he messaged me earlier, and I just like, it's like a slap in the face. Like, it's just this moment where it's just like, what? What? Like, it takes a minute for your brain to catch up. Sony is shutting down Bluepoint. I can't believe I'm saying those words. I cannot believe it. Sony is shutting down Bluepoint. For those of you who don't know, Bluepoint is a studio that specializes in remasters and remakes. That's their niche that they've carved out. They've done a lot of like remastered collections over the years, but most famously, they did a big remake for Shadow of the Colossus on PS4. And it was just like, it was just incredible. Like, absolutely incredible. One of those remakes where they probably didn't, like, redo all the source code, but they remade all of the assets to make it look like a current-gen game. Just one of the biggest glow-ups any game has ever received, just in history. Just such an amazing remake. And then in 2020, they did a remake of Demon's Souls, which was a launch title for the PS5, a game that I've played an awful lot, and it looks very, very, very nice. I still think it's probably one of the best looking games on the PS5. I know plenty of people who are fans of the original will argue that it messes up some stuff as far as like atmosphere and theming and stuff goes, but like I was a newcomer to the game, and to me, it's just incredible. It just looks so good. They did such a good job. And then Sony actually bought them in 2021. I guess they were so happy with their work on Demon's Souls that they bought them. They made them a Sony studio. And then from that point on, so like over the last several years, Bluepoint has been teasing something. They've been teasing that they're working on something. And even more excitingly, it was something new. Something new. Like, you're really good at making remakes, but like clearly they're just very, very talented developers. So the idea of them producing something new, incredibly exciting. Who could even imagine what it could be? Some sort of new IP, perhaps? Oh, wow. And then guess what? Last year, when Sony announced that they were canceling, like, what was it, like 12 games or something? One of them was a Bluepoint game that Bluepoint had been working on for several years. And it was a live service game. So Sony took a studio that specialized in creating these amazing remakes of, old games, single-player games primarily, and put them to work on what? A live service game. And then after just wasting, literally just flushing years down the toilet, figuratively flushing years down the toilet, they canceled the game. They just scrapped it all. And at that time, a Sony representative claimed that this would not impact the studio itself. Because anytime there's like a big high profile cancellation, people get a little bit worried about the studio that created it. Naturally, Sony did shut down Firewalk after the whole Concord thing, but they insisted that after the cancellation of Bluepoint's live service game, no, don't worry, we're not shutting down Bluepoint. And here we are a year later, and they're shutting down Bluepoint. Now, here's the kicker. Here's the real kicker. The reason? You want to know the reason that Sony gave? Why they're shutting down Bluepoint? I'll tell you. They didn't give one. I can't find one. All of the articles just say they're shutting them down. They're just shutting them down. And, like, obviously, I'm just a guy sitting in this chair, yapping at this microphone. You hear the arm, you can hear the squeaky armrests. I'm just a guy sitting here at my computer. Like, I don't know anything. Like, obviously, there's a lot more going on here than we know. There's all sorts of internal drama and whatnot. They're not just going to close down a studio for literally no reason at all. But at the same time, it's strange that they haven't given a reason. And it's also just hard to believe that there could be a good reason. I can't understand it. I can't understand it. This is a very talented studio. It just is. A very, very talented studio making a lot of really high-profile games. All eyes are on them. Really excited to see what they're capable of making next. I don't know, like, what the trouble could be. You know, like, it's already stupid enough when a studio, like, when a big company buys a studio, owns a studio, whatever, and says, hey, make this game for us. And then they make that game, and the game doesn't work out, and then they close down the studio, even though it's the fault of the company that ordered them to make that game. That's already ridiculous. Completely. But then for, like, that company to say, hey, make us this game, and then later, that company being like, okay, well, look, we're canceling this game. We're actually canceling a bunch of games from a bunch of our studios like this because we realized that we just put too many live service games into development. So that's like even more the company kind of just taking responsibility for that decision. So for them to do that, and then a year later, just shut down the studio anyway. Like, what did they do? Like, what did they do wrong? What is it about that studio that is just, like, not sustainable? That they would have to just, like, all of these really, really talented developers. I didn't actually know this. Did you know a bunch of, like, ex-Retro Studios people were at Bluepoint? That's, like, a thing. Like, a bunch of Retro Studios developers went over to Bluepoint. And, I mean, Retro has also, you know, they've got a reputation for being very, very skilled developers, especially when it comes to just visuals, just visual fidelity, wrangling amazing graphics and performance out of hardware. So, like, yeah, I mean, like, you can tell the shared DNA there. You're just kind of like looking at these games and being like, how'd you do this? Like, why does this look so good? And how is it running so well? So, like, we know the talent is there, and the track record is there, the pedigree. It's all there. So what could possibly be the problem? What could Sony possibly be thinking? I can't even, like, imagine. It would have to be like some, like, literally, like, just imagination, like just trying to imagine, pretend a scenario that could have led to this. And, like, all I can think of is, like, like personal, you know, like maybe, the people running Bluepoint, maybe there's like a problem, some sort of internal problem there, some internal corporate drama that we are just not privy to, and that somehow, even then though, I just, like, would that really be so bad that you just kill the golden goose, just outright? You just, like, you don't even cook it, you just throw it away. Like, I don't get it. Sony's a humongous company. They have a lot of money. They can afford to keep a bunch of studios open, especially if those studios are capable of producing good games. Like, at the very worst, even if, like, the games that they've been making haven't been working out, again, because these are the games that Sony's been making them make, presumably, but, like, even if those aren't working out, you can't just put them on another remake? Like, you can't, like, they did Demon's Souls, you can't, like, get them working with FromSoft to do Bloodborne or something, or just anything. Even anything a little bit more simple than that, you know? Just, like, even if you're just gonna relegate them to the task of just, okay, just keep remastering and remaking games, what's wrong with that? How is that still, like, not even worth doing? Not even worth pursuing? This company, like, we are better off with them dead. We are better off just not having any of them on the payroll whatsoever. How? What? How? And especially at a time, I call it a time, it's more like an era at this point, like basically an entire generation where it's just like, okay, Sony's not giving us a lot of games. Like, they're just not. You know, the generation started out really slow. We're like, where's the games? And then halfway, a little more than halfway through the generation, no, a good amount more than halfway through the generation, they're like, hey, we had a bunch of games, but they were all stupid games. They were all live service games, and we realized that's dumb, so we're canceling all of them. So we're like, okay, so that kind of explains why there are no games. Okay, but then, like, time is passing since then. They still have some stuff in development. Okay, now we're approaching the 6-year mark of this generation. You know, if it goes the standard 7 years, then we're almost at the end. It sounds like they're probably going to delay PS6 until 1 or 2 years later, but that's a different story. But basically, like, it's getting pretty late in the generation, and we're just like, all right, we're rubbing our hands together. anything? You got anything for us? And Sony's like, how about this? How about we shut down one of our really great studios and just like not ever even let them produce even one single game. They bought them in 2021 and they're killing them in 2026, not even 5 years later. So, I don't know. I feel like I could talk in circles for like an hour just because of like how like befuddled I am. Like I'm trying to make sense of this. I'm trying to find a combination of words and thoughts that just makes any of this feel more okay, feel less just like weird and nonsensical, and I don't even know. Oh, okay, last thing though, just to like add insult to injury, Sony buys Bluepoint, who are famous for remaking single-player games, puts them to work on a live service game, and the rumor was that this was going to be based on God of War. It was going to be a God of War live service game. And then in 2026, they shut down Bluepoint completely days after announcing that they are producing remakes of the original God of War single-player trilogy being done by a different studio. What is that? Just what is that? Just, I don't know, man. Right when you think things are going better for Sony, oh, changing CEOs, and this one seems to know what's up. And you know what? They canceled all these live service games, which is totally ridiculous, but at least it's a course correction, right? At least it shows that they're recognizing the error of their ways and they're trying to fix it. And then this just like this senseless destruction of talent. I don't know. I can only hope that some other company somewhere is smart enough to hire. I don't know if like buying the studio is on the table at all. They're probably just going to dissolve them, but at least, you know, you hope there's like a landing place, like a evacuation company to be like, hey, everybody come over here. Like, let's form a new studio, or you can come to, like, just there's just so much talent here and a team that clearly works very well together. So I hate how many videos I have to close out by saying this, but I wish the developers the best in finding new work and finding a new place to make cool games, because apparently Sony is not a really great place to make cool games right now.